Hi, my name is Olivia Rice, and this is my EDL 851 Module 13 case study. Okay, so after reading the case study, we come to category 1, which is problem identification. So I first want to talk about what we know about this case study. So the teacher has a history of being very effective. She was district teacher of the year. She was a mentor. She's a veteran teacher, so she's got a lot of experience. So her history in teaching is really good. But recently, she's become lazy in her teaching, which has led to ineffectiveness. Um, the parents are really upset with the way that their children are being treated, so much that they're contacting board members, superintendent, principal, emailing the teacher directly, those kind of things. The teacher had never been observed showing the accused behavior until the actual parent meeting with the principal, teacher, and parent. That wasn't, and the principal had never witnessed this behavior until that specific meeting. Also, the teacher has been accused of showing up late to school, leaving early, arguing with other teachers when they don't agree, things like that. So what do we need to know? As a future administrator, these are the things that I believe I would want to know before setting any kind of plan or goal. So I would want to know, is the teacher aware of the parent concerns? I know it said in the case study that the parents had emailed and called with no response. Is there a lack of communication? Is there just no communication? Is there not a clear understanding? Where are we not connecting the dots? Another thing I want to know is, what are the steps that she's taken so far with the accusations? Has she tried to improve? Has she tried to communicate with the parents? Are her communication skills lacking, or is there just no communication happening? The third thing I want to know are, what are her goals for the year, and what is she doing to work towards those goals? And then the fourth thing that I would want to know is her educational philosophy. I remember doing an assignment about this in another class, and it just really helped me grasp my understanding of what I want out of teaching. And so I think it would be beneficial to know that about my staff members. So the actual problem identification, I've kind of narrowed it down to just a simple sentence. Parental perception of an ineffective teacher with signs of unwillingness to self-evaluate. And I say parental perception because, as the administrator in the case study, they had never physically witnessed any of the accusations until the parent meeting. So at that point, it was still, the parent's perception of the teacher. And then signs of unwillingness to self-evaluate. So that goes back to, how this teacher is treating other staff members and showing up late to work and things like that. So, all right, so for category 2, what is my proposed plan of action? So this is what I would propose. As an administrator, knowing what I know just based off of the case study, I would say that this teacher definitely needs to be put on a plan of assistance or some kind of intervention, which could entail a lot of different things. But in this case, I think I would ask that the teacher maybe find a mentor teacher, maybe attend some professional development, anything to kind of re-energize this teacher into her teaching, because she was so effective in the beginning and kind of to get her back where she needs to be. So definitely a plan of assistance, which would include more frequent and routine administrator observations. So if I was the administrator in this case, I would be going into her classroom a lot more often, obviously informally. I would be doing walkthroughs. I would be collecting data. I would be making a lot more visits into that classroom. This idea I got from my current administrator, which I think is a really good idea, and I kind of took it and ran with it. But maybe hiring a possible aide or an extra support system in that room. So I'll talk about it later, but I just feel like if has been so effective, and then this year all of a sudden, or the past 2 years all of a sudden so ineffective, and it does talk about home stressors and things like that. Maybe she's just feeling so stressed, which has caused her to change her teaching styles and methods and things like that. So maybe if we can get another adult in the room, kind of help relieve, or just an extra set of eyes and hands in that room, maybe that would be beneficial. maybe the proposed plan of action is possibly moving the students to another classroom. I don't want to just sit there and grant every parent's wish without, gathering my own evidence and data, but maybe that is a possibility. And then I truly feel as an administrator, even though it is time consuming, I would love to sit down and meet with the parents that have those complaints and really hear them out, really record their concerns, and then kind of do my own investigating. So that would be my proposed plan of action. So for category 3, resolve the issues based on promoting the success of all students. And I think this category is so important because when I was reading the case study, I said to myself a couple times, okay, where, we haven't heard anything about the students. It's how the parents feel, how the teacher feels, how the administrators feel. The parents are relaying the message for their children, but all the focus is on this teacher when I want the focus to be on the students. So what is best for the students? Personally, I believe the best thing for the students would be extra support in the classroom. Now, this could be done a few different ways. Maybe that teacher needs to co-teach with another teacher. Maybe they need to observe and visualize different teaching methods and strategies and work with other adults and those kind of things. Maybe it's a sped teacher. Maybe the kids in that room, I don't have enough information just based off the case study, but maybe the kids in that room are resource room kids and maybe they just need some more support. And that way, I don't know. But the second way is to, like I said, maybe like an aide or a para. So just maybe somebody there to help. Like I said, be an extra set of hands and eyes and support and things like that. And then the third one is obviously administrator walkthroughs, having an administrator in and out of that classroom a lot more often, recording data, doing evaluations, providing feedback, those kind of things. So I think the extra support in the classroom is very, very important for the success of the students. And then obviously the improvement of the teacher. And then a possible movement of classrooms for those kiddos, because in a perfect world, every kid would learn from every teacher and they would gel and their teaching methods and styles would reach every student. But it's not a perfect world and that's not reality. So sometimes we have to, you just have to find the right teacher-student relationship and what works for that student and that teacher. And, maybe that student will be more successful in another classroom. So again, not enough information to make that decision, but with more communication and meetings and interactions, I think I could come to a conclusion like that. Okay, so the next category is to kind of debrief the problem and reflect on it. I really liked this category because it gave me a chance to put out what I was really feeling, even though this was my initial feeling. After I had time to sit and think about it, then I kind of came up with a plan. But so what was I thinking and feeling and valuing as the response to this problem? I think right when I read it, my first response was, oh, there's no right answer. I mean, there's a lot of different answers and a lot of different opportunities, but there's not one that I was like, yep, that's it. That's the correct answer. They have to do it like this, or this is going to be the end all solution. So with a lot of issues in education, that's the, that happens. But that was my first instinct was, darn, I wish there was a right answer, but there's kind of not. Second thing I was feeling was I needed to understand both sides from my staff members' point of view and then also from the parents' point of view. And it's hard to, when you hear parents out and they're telling you all these concerns they have about their kid, you feel for them and you want to do what's best for their student, but sometimes that's a one-sided story. So I also need to talk to the teacher, get her side, and do my own investigating and kind of figure out, where the truth is or what we need to improve. Third thing was the student's success is the ultimate goal. I said this before, is I felt like that was not the main focus throughout the case study. And so I just kept coming back to, well, what's best for the student? What's best for the student? So that was another thing I was feeling. And then the last one is as a future administrator, I think in this specific case, I would definitely seek out the advice from an experienced administrator. I'd say, hey, what would you do in this situation? What do you think would be best for students? So those are just kind of my initial feelings after reading it. So what issues are still unresolved? I think there's a lot of issues that are still unresolved because it's not going to be an immediate fix all, end all, be all. The first one is like, what if the problem persists? You know, you can give her all the resources and all the professional development and anything that she needs, but if she doesn't use those to her advantage, then the problem's still going to be persistent. So, and then if she's continuing to fight with other colleagues, show up to work late, not take advice from the principal, not reach her goals, I mean, that's insubordination. And so her thankfully, though, she would be on a plan of assistance, which would allow for the documentation, which could potentially lead to termination. So I mean, that's kind of going to the extreme, but that would still be an issue that we would have. What happens if the parents are still unhappy with the communication and the teacher's effectiveness in the classroom? You know, then we're back to square one, and we start all over again. And then if she's unwilling to change her behaviors, then the staff rapport is going to go down and it's going to weaken even more than it is. And this issue is still going to be a problem, if not more issues. So category 5 is reflect on standard 2. So I kind of just put it in a couple sentences, kind of gathered my thoughts and reflected. And I just said, by putting the teacher on a plan of assistance, it is the hope of the administrator that the teacher will realize the faults in her delivery to parents, to students, most importantly, to the administrator, to her fellow colleagues, and maybe she'll accept the advice from other professionals. If the classroom teacher can improve her disposition, her students will be better. They will better relate, they will better learn, they will grow, you know, they will become better first graders. So the success of the students is the priority. This starts with a healthy environment, a happy teacher, and purposeful practice. I truly believe that. So how did I, as an educational leader, promote the academic success of every student? I would say as the educational leader, if I was the administrator in this case study, I would have promoted the academic success of every student by enhancing the effectiveness of the teacher. This would require acknowledgement that performance was lacking, a plan to improve it, a setting of goals, observations to monitor the improvements, and then conversations and feedback. So were these goals met? Are we improving? The academic success of the students will be dependent on the improved teaching strategies and methods, classroom atmosphere, constant reflection, those kind of things. I mean, with the teachers' improvements, the students' academic improvements are also going to be there. So as an administrator, I ensured that these improvements were made, and I recommended a change of direction. I either, you know, made sure the improvements were made, or I recommended a change of direction for next year. As an educational leader, how did I promote the personal well-being of every student? So this is where I said it as an educational leader, the well-being of every student was promoted with the extra support in the classroom by an aide, by a para, whatever that was, because each student needs to be given their respected time that they deserve. Based on the case study information that I read, I concluded that a possible stressor was the lack of support, which led to a vulgar classroom environment. The extra adult will not only be an assistant for learning, but also another caring adult to provide emotional support. How did I, as a school leader, enhance instructional capacity? Capacity. I felt strongly about this one, so I kind of bulleted it because I had a lot of different thoughts going through my head. But as an administrator, if I want my teachers to improve, I have to allow them to improve. And what that looks like is allow them time to receive professional development, seek out valuable resources and deliver those to them, encourage them to update their curriculum, provide them with a variety of forms of instruction and methods, encourage them to network and collaborate, and then to keep them abreast on trends and educational advancements. Like, I can't just sit there and say, hey, you need to do these things, but I need to be a leader for them and give them what they need in order to reach those. And this is kind of my reflection. I think it's really important that teachers are always enthusiastic because then they will receive enthusiastic students.